filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me, like told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, build the win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I'm built to win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back. What's going on? There we go. Welcome back to TTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back for another episode. Today, we're going to talk about 10 teams to look out for in the Group of 5 conferences. Now, side note, if you didn't catch the episode a couple months ago, I said I'm not doing Notre Dame. This year, I wanted to save that spot for somebody else. I feel like it's easy. We always got to look out for Notre Dame. So I didn't want to do that one. So they will not be a part of this episode. I actually will not be previewing Notre Dame's season at all. Actually, if you listen to the previews, I looked at Notre Dame's schedule. Most of their 12 games is in the preview. So I kind of previewed it without previewing it. But yeah, Notre Dame will not be a part of the group of 5 schools to look out for like they have been the past 2 years. Only because I feel like that's a cop-out. It's an easy one, so I'm just not going to do that. But other than that, before I get into the show, I'd like to ask that you like, comment, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, it helps the network. It helps my channel, CTC, by way of the Refuse to Lose Network. We also got shows on the network. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave every Tuesday and Friday. Today was supposed to be the Ravens panel, but unfortunately, the panel couldn't come together, so we are looking to move forward to Monday. But they go from 7 to about 8:30. We have Unfazed featuring Joe and AJ every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. We have BWT. He just made an episode about the playoff push. Go check that out. You know, the Tigers won again, so shout out to them. I couldn't watch it, though, because it was on Apple TV Plus, so no shout out to them, but we won. That's all that matters. Next, we have Dave's Doghouse, highlights and lowlights of sport. We have FFC, Fantasy Football with Coach Coombs, where, you know, fantasy football season right around the corner. Last week of preseason, some teams are done their preseason games. So make sure you get your little info in so you could get your teams together. Next, we have RBO, Real Ballers Only. Hey, shout out to Vaughn, the host of RBO, because he's getting cooked in the comments for his panel, and keep cooking them. I just want to sit back and watch the comments, man. Hey, don't do too much, though. That's still my dog. But you know what I'm saying? Still, it's going 14-3. Go ahead, light them up for that. Next, we have Indie Red Corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo. Boxing episode for all your boxing needs. I don't know if they're going to talk about Jake Paul. And is it Jake Paul and Tank or Logan Paul and Tank? I think it's Jake Paul. Either way, I'm not watching. But I don't think they're going to talk about that one. But they do talk about a lot of boxing, but I think that fight's supposed to be an exhibition. So, y'all but tune in. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Tune in, find out. And last but certainly not least, I think I have them all. Let me I can't check right here. I gotta move the thing. I think I have them all. Yep, I got yep. Boom, boom. Yo. So please like, comment, share, subscribe to those channels as well. And if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, go see comments. Shout out my brother. He told me CTC, and he said, what are G5 schools? So G5 is just short for Group of 5, which are so they're power conferences: ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. There used to be Power 5 with the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 kind of dissolved. It will be back next year with 8 teams, but for the current moment, it's only 2, which I'm not talking about 2 teams: Washington State and Oregon State. So the other conferences, Mountain West, Sun Belt, MAC, American, and Conference USA, are the Group of 5 conferences. It's basically, in college basketball terms, you have your power conferences and your mid-major basketball. Group of 5 is just mid-major football in college basketball terms, but that's what that means. So the way this is going to work this year, I have 5 schools that aren't conference champs, and then I have each conference champ. So I have a MAC champ that we'll preview. I have a Conference USA champ we will preview, an American Athletic Conference champ that we will preview, a Mountain West Conference champ that we will preview, and a Sun Belt champ that we will preview. And then other than that, it's just 5 random Group of 5 schools. And we'll start with our first school, Boise State. Yes, that's right. I don't have Boise State winning the Mountain West. I have them going to the Mountain West championship game, but I don't have them winning. Stay tuned to find out who I have winning. But Boise State coming off of a phenomenal year where they made the college football playoffs. Not only did they make the playoffs, they got a bye week. They earned the 4 seed. So that was huge. The college football playoff committee did not see that coming, and that's why they started talking about, oh, we should change it, blah, 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 because they got butthurt because of Power 5 conference school that won a conference championship. They got put out. Texas put out Clemson. Clemson won the ACC. So get over it, committee. I'm not mad at it. I actually enjoy seeing it, and it's not because Clemson's a rival. No, it was just fun to watch. This is what college sports is about: upsets, all that type of stuff. So yeah, y'all know how I feel. Spencer Danielson, my dog, still the head coach, coming off back-to-back Mountain West Conference championships. They do have a new OC, Nate Potter, who was an in-house hire, and Matt Miller's the co-OC, who's also an in-house hire. So that is something new to look out for. They do return 13 starters, 7 on offense, 6 on defense. They're coming off a 12-2, 7-0 season where they won the Mountain West, like I said, 21-7 versus UNLV. But then they lose in the college football playoffs quarterfinals to Penn State, 31-14. That was one of Ashton Gentry's lower lights of his senior or last season there at Boise State. But they return Maddox Madsen. The team is now on your back. He went 247 to 396, 62.4% completion percentage, 3,018 yards, 23 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Returned Latrell Caples, a wide receiver, 38 catches, 473 yards and 5 touchdowns. Matt Lauder, tight end, 47 catches, 619 yards and 7 touchdowns. And they returned 4 offensive linemen. They lost their left guard. Now, preference this by saying it was hard for the Group of 5 for some reason to find starters that were returning. Took me longer than the Power 4 was so easy. The Group of 5 took forever. But anyway, defensively, they returned Ty Benefield, safety with 82 total tackles, 59 solos, 3 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 4 fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. And Marion McCoy, cornerback, 60 total tackles, 53 solos, 13 pass breakups, interception, touchdown, and 4 fumble. Jaden Virgin Morgan, defensive end or edge, who had 40 total tackles, 20 solos, 10 sacks, 4 fumble, and fumble recovery. So that's huge production there. Jeremiah Irby, cornerback, 34 total tackles, 28 solos, 6 pass breakers, an interception, 4 fumble, and a fumble recovery. Zion Washington, defensive back, who had 67 total tackles, 46 solos, 6 pass breakers, and 2 forced fumbles. And Marco Notarani, a linebacker, who had 60 total tackles, 33 solos, 3.5 sacks, 3 pass breaks, and 2 forced fumbles. 2 fumble recoveries, Now, obviously, they lost the biggest piece of the team last year, currently on the Las Vegas Raiders, Ashton Gentry, Heisman runner-up, Maxwell winner. In my opinion, should have won the Heisman, but I'm not mad Travis Hunter won it. I wasn't mad either way. I was voting Ashton Gentry, but obviously you can't deny what Travis Hunter did for Colorado on both sides of the ball. 374 carries, 2,601 yards, 7 a carry, 29 touchdowns for the Raiders. Now on the Raiders, But all right, so I would like to say this too. Gentry, the year before last year, he was more productive in the passing game. This past season, they just said, you know what? We just running him the rock, running him the ball. So he wasn't as productive in the passing game. And I think that's an underrated aspect of his game that really wasn't shown last season. They lost Cam Camper, wide receiver, 58 catches, 903 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the Jags. Prince Strachan, he transferred to USC, 25 catches, 304 yards, and a touchdown. They lost Saya Oladipo, a safety, who had 68 total tackles, 51 solos, 6.5 sacks, 2 pass breaks, 4 fumble, and a fumble recovery. Ahmad Hussein, currently on the Lions, get well soon. He got injured. I think he's out for the year, if I'm not mistaken, or is like in the air if he is. He was an edge rusher who had 48 total tackles, 28 solos, 9.5 sacks, and a fumble recovery. Alexander Tubner, safety, 57 total tackles, 34 solos, 2 sacks, 3 pass breakups, interception, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. Now, they had the 72nd overall recruiting class, 94th, and transfers. One transfer that came in was Malik Sherrod, the running back from Fresno State, who in 2023 had 172 carries, 966 yards, 5.6 a carry, and 9 touchdowns, and a really good year for Fresno State that season. And Derek Ganser Jr., a safety from Eastern Washington, who had 73 total tackles, 40 solos, 4 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. They were 8th in total offense, 60th in total defense, 70th in passing, 8th in rushing, 5th in scoring offense, 106th in passing defense, 31st in rushing defense, and tied 37th in scoring defense. So we'll get into the schedule for Boise State this season. And they start off at USF, the Bulls of Southern Florida. And I have the upset here to start the season. And I know y'all might be thinking, Carl, what? You're crazy. Boise State with all that. Southern Florida's returning some decent pieces too, namely Byron Brown. But the large part of this went into the weather. It is going to be August. I think this game is August. It is going to be hot in South Florida. They might be cramping. We already know how it goes when playing football, the humidity, all that. Florida is just different. And I don't know if Boise State is ready for that type of weather, especially game 1 of the season. So because of that, and because South Florida, I don't think South Florida is going to be no pushovers either. I actually have, spoiler alert, South Florida is one of my teams to look out for. So I think South Florida gets the upset here because of the weather, humidity, cramping, and it's their first game without Genty. Madison, let's see what you got. I think South Florida gets it done here. I think this is an L. Next is Eastern Washington, which I have as a win. Then at Air Force for Mountain West play, I have as a win. App State, Sunbelt game, I have as a win. Then on the road against Notre Dame, I have as a loss. Then at home against New Mexico, they bounce back and win. And I have them winning against UNLV. I have them winning at Nevada. Yeah, I got the Nevada shirt on. Still got Boise State winning. Fresno State is a win. Shout out Jeff Show, by the way, of Nevada. At San Diego State is a win. Colorado State is a win. And at Utah State, I have them losing the final game. And it's that one is because, man, Bronco Mendenhall, new head coach for Utah State, he just works wonders offensively. He had New Mexico almost make a bowl game in their first year in New Mexico, rebuilding New Mexico, which is, to me, an insane feat at the University of New Mexico. He's just so good at winning. And not only is he good at winning, he's good at winning in the Mountain West. Those years at BYU, where he was winning, most of those years in Mountain West. I just think Bronco Mendenhall is a great head coach. I love Spencer Danielson. I think he's a great head coach too. But I think this is where Danielson learns from the master. No, yeah, all pun intended. This is what Danielson learned from the master, which is Bronco Mendenhall. Utah State is at home. So I think that's the one Mountain West Conference slip up Boise State has, is a loss at Utah State, making Boise State 9-3, 7-1, taking the under 10.5 wins for Boise State. Now, granted, Boise State could easily win at South Florida, and they can win at Utah State to go 11-1 in the over. But I just using what I think they go 9-3, 7-1. I still think they make the Mountain West Conference Championship, however. Next, we have Southern Mississippi. Southern Mississippi. And Southern Mississippi's coming off a 1-11, 0-8 season. So you might be thinking, Carl, really? They won one game and lost the rest, and you think we should look out for them? Yes. And here's why. In comes new head coach Charles Huff. What did Charles Huff do? He won the Sun Belt last season at Marshall. How many of his players transferred in? 21 players from that Marshall Sun Belt championship team has transferred into Southern Mississippi. I think that they're going to be a fun team to watch. I think they're a team to potentially watch to potentially win the Sun Belt yet again. And I think football at Southern Mississippi is just going to be outstanding. So I think there's a fun team to watch. They returned 4 starters. I mean, it's obvious they're not going to return a lot of starters from a 1-10, 0-18 with a new head coach in this NIL era, with the transfer portal and everything. So it was good that they returned the four. They returned two on offense, two on defense. They returned Kyron Heath, a tight end, who had 15 catches, 220 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and a right tackle, Greg Nunnerly. On defense, they returned Brodus Lewis, a defensive lineman, 39 total tackles, 19 solos, and 4 sacks. And Chris Jones, a linebacker with 46 total tackles, 25 solos, a sack, a pass breakup, interception, and 2 forced fumbles. They lost a lot. They lost Tate Rodemaker, quarterback, 98 to 164, 985 yards, 59.8 completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Rodriguez Clark, a running back with 124 carries, 604 carry, 4.9 carry, 604 yards, and a touchdown. Larry Simmons, who went to Utah, 27 catches, 421 yards, and a touchdown. Ty Mims, a receiver who went to Texas State, 33 catches, 383 yards, and a touchdown. Trey Pickney, a linebacker with 74 total tackles, 36 solos, and a half a sack. Jay Jones, a safety who had 46 total tackles, 27 solos, 3 pass breakups, and an interception. Will James, defensive back, 39 total tackles, 21 solos, and 7 pass breakups, currently at the University of Houston. And Michael Caraway Jr., defensive back, currently at Florida with 37 total tackles, 24 solos, pass breakup, and a fumble recovery. Like I said, they bring back 21 players from Marshall, namely Braylon Braxton, the quarterback, just athletic, dual threat guy. Last year, he was 124 to 06, 60.2 completion percentage, 1,624 yards, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and added 610 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns on the ground. Matt Jones comes over from Ole Miss, where he had 44 carries for 226 yards, 5.1 a carry, and 3 touchdowns at running back. Micah Davis transfers in he came from Ole Miss, but these stats I'm going to read were from Utah State. And when he was at Utah State, he had 36 catches, 628 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So looking to repeat some group of 5 production from there. Elijah Metcalf transfers over from Marshall. The receiver had 20 catches, 194 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Chuck Montgomery from Marshall, receiver had 32 catches, 393 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Josh Moten, linebacker, who transferred in from Marshall. This is a cornerback, 38 total tackles, 21 solos, 5 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, bad handwriting. Now, let's get into the schedule for Southern Miss. Now, their first game against Mississippi State, I do have as an L. This is at home. And as much as I love from what I see from the Southern Miss, getting transfers from SEC, from the power conferences, then the Sun Belt champ Marshall, I do think Mississippi State is a loss. I do think this is a good game, though. Mississippi State is the bottom of the SEC. This could potentially be a great game. Next is at home against Jackson State. I have as a win. Next is at home against App State. Sunbelt play, I have as a win. Then on the road at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is like always that team to me that's like can get in games, but quarterback play to me just be an issue. I have as a win. Then next on the road, at home against Jacksonville State. I have this as an L. This could be a win, but they won 3 straight. Jack State is a team that plays super fast. I'm pretty sure they're going to keep the same thing, having a after Rich Rod. So I see this as an L. And then I have them beating Georgia Southern at home. On the road, Next game after that is on the road against Louisiana. I have it as an L only because Louisiana, this is technically a rematch game. No, it's not green, the mean green in front of you, but a lot of mean green on his team. They beat the mess out of Louisiana in the Sun Belt Championship game. So I think that's in the back of their mind. I know some of their players are gone, but still in the back of the players' mind. So I think this is a loss. Then I have them winning out against UL Monroe, on the road at Arkansas State, at home against Texas State, on the road against South Alabama, who lost Fluff Bothwell and Jill Lopez. And I have them beating Troy at home to go 9-3, 7-1. I think Southern Miss is going to be super fun to watch this year, just like Marshall was. And I'm excited to see how they do. Next, we have South Florida, which they were on this list last year, but due to injury, Sean Atkins got hurt for some time. Yassine from Purdue, the transfer receiver, got hurt. Byron Brown got hurt at quarterback. They was just facing a couple injuries. So thanks, South Florida. They're going to be back on this list. I think Alex Golesh is a great head coach. He still managed to get Southern Florida to a bowl game and win the bowl game, the Hawaii Bowl, which I watched. I think that was on Christmas Eve. It was electric. Went to like 5 overtimes where they won 41-39. Great game. They were coming off a 7-6 4-4 season in the American Conference. They returned 12 starters, 6 on offense, 6 on defense, namely Byron Brown, the quarterback, who last year, like I said, got hurt, was 78 of 132, 59.1 completion percentage, 836 yards and 2 touchdowns, and 269 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. They returned 4 O-linemen, and they returned Keyshawn Singleton, the receiver, with 26 catches, 408 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, defensively, they returned Mac Harris, linebacker, with 82 total tackles, 54 solos, 4 sacks, 2 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and a Scoopman scored touchdown. Shaylin Schuler, linebacker, 62 total tackles, 34 solos, 3.5 sacks, pass breakup, 2 interceptions, and 3 forced fumbles. Taven Ward, the safety, 61 total tackles, 41 solos, 3 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries. Deshaun Rucker, cornerback, 41 total tackles, 36 solos, 7 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Kewan Banks, a defensive back, 30 total tackles, 19 solos, 2 sacks, and 4 pass breakups. Ben Knox, a cornerback, 22 total tackles, 15 solos, a sack, 6 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery. They lose, like I said, Sean Atkins, who was to one of the best in the American League. He's trying to fight to get in the NFL. It's going to be tough for him, but I'm wishing him luck. He had 79 catches for 781 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kelly Joyner at running back with 121 carries, 799 yards, 6.6 a carry, 12 touchdowns. Naquan Wright, another running back with 109 carries, 510 yards, 4.7 a carry, 8 touchdowns. Currently trying to make the Colts. They lost Brent Austin, a defensive back, transferred to Cal, who had 48 total tackles, 36 solos, 10 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown. Decarius Hawthorne, defensive tackle, 39 total tackles, 17 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2 pass breakups, 4 fumble, and a fumble recovery, trying to make the Rams. And they lost Tafiq Bayer, a safety, who had 54 total tackles, 34 solos, 2 sacks, and interception, and a fumble recovery, transferred to Colorado. Now, they're the 74th overall recruiting class, 85th in transfers. Now, Rocco Nico, a linebacker, transfers in from Kent State, who had 61 total tackles, 30 solos, and 2 pass breakups. Sam Franklin, a running back from Oklahoma, transfers in. Now, these stats for when he's at University of Tennessee Martin, in 2023. 223 carries, 1,378 yards, and 6.2 a carry, and 11 touchdowns. So he's trying to duplicate some success. Jacob Merrifield, defensive tackle from FAU, had 16 total tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 sacks, which is pretty good for a defensive tackle. They were 46 in total offense, 118 in total defense, tied 67th in passing, 39th in rushing, 33rd in scoring, 127th in passing defense, 81st in rushing defense, 100th in scoring defense. Obviously, they have to shore up that defense, but think about USF last year. They had a stretch where they were just forcing turnovers. Obviously, that's not something you can continuously keep up with. The great defenses can, but not good to bad defenses, or even solid. No, not solid. Average to bad defenses. So they had their stretch, but once the stretch ended, the defense kind of got exposed a little bit. So we'll move on to the schedule, where I have them beating Boise State again at home. I already explained the Boise State segment. Losing at Florida, losing at the U, beating South Carolina State, beating Charlotte, shout out Tim Elvin, beating North Texas on the road, beating FAU, which is another battle of Florida, losing at Memphis, losing against UTSA at home, losing to Navy on the road, beating UABA on the road, and beating Rice at home to go 7-5, 5-3. Now you might be saying, Carl, 7 wins. We should look out for this team. They play Florida, Miami, and Memphis. Memphis is a conference play, but conference foe. But Florida and Miami is 2 Power 4 schools that are really good. And then I have them losing 3 straight conference games, but I don't have them winning the conference. I just think they're a good team that you should look out for in the conference. They can easily beat Navy. I do think they can beat Navy if they, play sound football, gap control. Don't, let the option unbalance the defense. You got to you got to read eye discipline, watch the football. Don't go for the fakes. Don't, jump out your gaps to open up lanes. Just play sound football. Memphis, I'm not sure what Memphis looks like 100%. They lose a lot of talent. They lose some receiving talent, Rock Taylor and Demir Blankumsey. They lose Seth Hannigan, who they had for a long time. So it's some talent lost there where USF, that could be a swing game. I do think UTSA is a loss, though. I'm not gonna lie. I really like UTSA, but yeah, I have them going 7-5, 5-3. But I still think they're a good football team. Next, we have Utah State. As I sip some water. But yeah, Utah State, like I said, man, new head coach Bronco Mendenhall. Bronco Mendenhall. I can't say enough positive things about Bronco. He wins. He has great offenses. He gets the most out of his quarterbacks. And yeah, I can't. It's not enough. I feel about Bronco. Nah, I think South Florida could potentially win 9. Like I said, I think UTSA is still a loss, and then they lose Florida and they lose to Miami. So I think UTSA can potentially win 9. USF can potentially win 9. But shout out my boy Joe. Utah State, like I said, Utah. And let's not forget, Utah State won a Mountain West Conference championship 4 years ago under Blake Anderson. Now, Blake Anderson, he had the Title IX things. He got fired to start the season this past season, and that just messed Utah State all the way up. But we're not too far off from the Logan Bonner and Devin Tompkins Mountain West Conference championship year. We're really not. So I feel like Bronco could step in and potentially win, not this year, but in the future, potentially win a Mountain West Conference title for Utah State. Now they're coming off a 4-8, 3-4 season. Like I said, the whole Blake Anderson issue kind of put Utah State in a monkey wrench, put them in a bind. They returned 5 starters, 2 on offense, 3 on defense. They returned Bryson Barnes, the quarterback, 77 to 126, 61.1% completion percentage, 856 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, with 530 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns. Brock Lane, the tight end, who had 19 catches for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ike Larson, a safety, who had 80 total tackles, 55 solos, 9 pass breakups, and an interception. Gabriel Eniquez Jr., a defensive tackle, had 29 total tackles, 4 solos, and half a sack. And John Miller, a linebacker, had 52 total tackles, 29 solos, 2 sacks, and 2 pass breakups. They lost Spencer Petras, which was that really a loss? Sorry. But 214 to 327, 65.4 completion percentage, 2,315 yards, 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. For Sol Faison, sorry, he's transferred to South Carolina. Sorry, Utah State. Running back, 198 yards, 1,109 yards. 198 carries, 1,109 yards, 5.6 a carry, 8 touchdowns. Jalen Royals, big playmaker, currently on the Chiefs. Wide receiver with 55 catches, 834 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Kyrese Rowan, receiver, currently trying to make the Broncos, 44 catches, 526 yards, 3 touchdowns. Otto T, a tight end transfer to Utah, 44 catches, 434 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Jordan Vincent, safety, 117 total tackles, 63 solos, 2 pass breakups, and 4 interceptions. John Ross May, linebacker, who had 57 total tackles, 22 solos, and a pass breakup. They lost Devontae Dickerson, cornerback, who had 19 total tackles, 11 solos, 3 pass breakups, and an interception. Currently transferred to Arkansas State. They lost J.D. Drew, cornerback, 45 total tackles, 31 solos, 2 pass breakups, an interception, and a forced fumble. Currently transferred to Tulsa. They had the 119th overall recruiting class, 118th in transfers. They bring over guys like Bryson Taylor, a transfer cornerback from New Mexico, coming over with his former head coach, who had 57 total tackles, 28 solos, and 10 pass breakups. Javen Jacobs, a transfer running back from New Mexico, 40 carries, 277 yards, 6.9 a carry, and 3 touchdowns. And Nakai Fahina from New Mexico State, a defensive lineman, 29 total tackles, 9 solos. So bringing guys over from the New Mexico colleges. Now, again, I think he's going to get the most out of Bryson Barnes if Bryson Barnes starts at Utah State. I'm excited to see what he does because Bronco loves to run his quarterbacks well. He did it with Brandon Armstrong. He did it with Devin Dampier last year. I think he's going to do it with Bryson Barnes. He just loves to move his quarterbacks. So that should be fun to watch. And Bronco normally has good running games, like rushing offenses. So that's going to be fun to watch too. He brings his running back over from last year. I'm just excited to see Utah State offensively. I think them offensively, they could pose problems to the Mountain West in general. Only teams like I don't see them potentially like running down their throat. Like I got them beating Boise State, obviously from the last segment, but I don't think like they just run down their throat. Like I think it's a good game that they edge out being at home. But let's get into the schedule. I have them winning at home against UTEP. I feel like I got to sneeze again. I have them losing at Kyle Field against Texas A&M. I have them winning at Air Force. I have them winning against McNeese, or at home against Air Force, winning at home against McNeese. I actually have them losing at Vanderbilt, which I think Vanderbilt is going to be a solid team. I have them winning at Hawaii, which that game is tricky. That game is tricky. The time difference, the travel, all that mixed in. That does bite some teams in the behind, but I think they'll be fine. Winning at home against Nevada. I know it's like you got the shirt on, but you got them taking L's. Sorry, Jeff Choate. Got them losing at UNLV, losing at Fresno State, and then again beating Boise State at home to go 8-4, 6-2, just missing the Mountain West championship game. Now you might be thinking, Carl, you named two Mountain West schools, Utah State and Boise State. Neither one of them are your champion. Hold on tight. Just hold on tight. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But, yeah, I think Utah State is going to improve 4 games. I have the over 4.5 win total. I think they make a bowl game. And I think Bronco Mendenhall shows why he's one of the best coaches in the country when he, when he gets a program. So, and he turns schools around. So, and we're going to go to our last group of 5 school before we get into our champions. I already talked about them kinda, is UTSA. Shout out Coach Jeff Traylor, man. Been a fan for a while now. Shout out Frank Harris, who was once the quarterback there. He was there forever. I ain't gonna lie. He was there for like 7 seasons, but that's still my guy. Shout out Sincere McCormick. Won a Mountain West Conference, or was it Mountain? No, I think his was Conference USA championship MVP. And I think Frank Harris was not Mountain West, but no, I think they both was Conference USA championship game MVPs. I don't think UTSA won a championship since they went to the American. No, I don't believe so. They won Conference USA championships. But either way, I've been a fan of UTSA for a while. I don't think I had the meeps on my 10 scoops to watch out for last year. Is this the journal? Yes, it is. I don't think I had them on mine last year. I know my first season I did it, I had them on there, and they kind of disappointed me. That was like Frank Harris's last season there. Yeah, here we go right here. I had Notre Dame, Miami, Ohio, Texas State, Tulane. I had them to win. Tulane, they did me dirty. South Florida, Memphis, who did really good. Liberty, who kind of did me dirty. Jack State, who won the Conference USA championship. Fresno State, who did me dirty. And Boise State, who won the Mountain West. So shout out. I had some good teams last year, Jack. This is the meeps weren't one of them. So I say that to say, please continue to tune in. But anyway, they're coming off a 7-6, 4-4 season. Won the Myrtle Beach Bowl 44-15 versus Coastal Carolina. They returned 10 starters. All 10 starters they returned on offense. They lose their entire defense. They returned Owen McCowan, quarterback, who had 294 yards, 294, 467, 63% completion percentage, 3,424 yards, 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. And you heard the last name, McCown. You are correct. That is McCown's son. I want to say it's Josh McCown. I want to say it's his son. Yeah, it's Josh McCown's son. So, and he had a really good season last season, I will say. He really did. They returned Robert Henry Jr., 130 carries, 706 yards, 5.4 carries, 7 touchdowns for the running back. Willie McCoy, the third, the receiver, who had 28 catches, 536 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Devin McEwen, the receiver, who had 45 catches, 424 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And Houston Thomas, the tight end, who had 34 catches, 470 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like I said, lost their entire defense. So we ain't got to talk about the losses. Just know they lost everything. Now, they were 79th in overall recruiting class, 92nd in transfers. They bring in guys like KK Meyer, transfer cornerback from Nevada at 27 total tackles, 19 solos, 3 pass breakups. Shy Bangs Jr., a linebacker from TCU, who in 2023 had 62 total tackles, 41 solos, pass breakup, sack, and forced fumble. Brandon Tucker, a linebacker from East Texas A&M, who had 131 total tackles, 64 solos, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. R.J. Lester, a cornerback from Oklahoma State, who played in 3 games but had 3 total tackles, 1 being a solo. They had Cameron Blaylock transferring, a defensive lineman from Tennessee State, 30 total tackles, 14 solos, and half a sack. And Brandon Jacob Jr., a safety, who played in 4 games at UCF, had 9 total tackles, 7 of them being solos. So they're bringing in some talent. They're bringing in some power for talent too. So it's interesting to see what UTSA does. Now, the UTSA, to me, they're normally like an offensive-oriented team. They were last year, and with Frank Harris years, they were offensive-oriented. Defensively, they were kind of trash. But, like, I want to say 2 years ago was probably the best defense I've seen UTSA have in, like, recent memory. With I want to say with, like, Cam Alexander at cornerback, and I want to say Martavis French was still there 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure. But that was like the most recent defense. I remember UTSA being a really solid defensive team. Last year rankings, they were 12th in total offense, 71st in total defense, 11th in offense, 54th in rushing. Oh, I put 11th in offense, 11th in passing, 54th in rushing, 27th in scoring offense, 123rd in passing defense, 11th in rushing defense, 103rd in scoring defense. Now we can get into the schedule for UTSA, where I have them losing at Texas A&M, first game at Cal Field, beating Texas State at home, second game, beating Incarnate Word at home for the third game, beating Colorado State on the road in the fourth game, beating Temple on the road for the fifth game, then winning at home against Rice, winning on the road against North Texas, losing at home to Tulane, winning on the road, against South Florida, winning on the road against Charlotte, winning at home against ECU, and winning at home against Army, going 10-2, 7-1. Again, another American Conference team, but it's not my champ. It's not my champ. So I done talked about USF. They're not my champ. I done talked about UTSA. They're not my champ. But I think I do have UTSA going to the championship game, however. But they lose to my AAC champ prediction. And I'm going back to the well. By the way, taking the over 7.5 win total for UTSA. Tulane. I'm going back to the well. John Summerall has made 3 straight conference games, 2 at Troy, 1 at Tulane. But not only has John Summerall done it, Tulane in general has been to 3 straight conference championship games. They lost last year to Army. Army dominated the game. It wasn't close. They lost 2 years ago. Backup quarterback versus backup quarterback against SMU, which that ended up not really being a backup. And I think that was Kevin Jennings who played. And then I think the one 3 years ago is the one they won. With, I can't remember who they played, but that was the year they won the Cotton Bowl against Caleb Williams and them. So they've been there. They've done that. And I think they do it again. I think Tulane, with some of the talent coming in, I know they lost a lot. They lost Darian Mensah, the quarterback, went straight to Duke, and they lost Mekhi Hughes, went straight to Oregon. And Mekhi Hughes has been huge for Tulane the last 2 years. But I will say this. Tulane wasn't really projected to go to the conference, to the American Conference Championship game last year. I think I had them winning, but we didn't even know who was going to be the starting quarterback. A lot of people had Todd Thompson, the starting quarterback, and then out of nowhere, Darian Mensah wins the job, and he does amazing things. And I feel like this year could be similar, where Jake Retzlaff walks on at Tulane because of the whole BYU situation, wins the starting job at Tulane, and does excellent things at Tulane. So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be the American in general, to me, it's just going to be fun to watch. But Tulane, it's going to be interesting. I really do think it's going to be interesting. And John Summerall is a great coach. So they're coming off a 9-5, 7-1 season where they lost the American 35-14 to Army. And they lost the Gasparilla Bowl 33-8 to Florida. But again, they didn't have the American Conference game. There, everybody played. The Gasparilla Bowl, everybody was gone. It was just like nobody was there for them. So Florida just whooped them. But They returned 5 starters from what I saw. 3 on offense, all being linemen, and 2 on defense. Again, this was one of the teams where it was hard to find the returners. On defense, they returned Sam Howard, a linebacker who had 63 total tackles, 34 solos, 2.5 sacks, a pass breakup, an interception, and 5 fumble recoveries, and a scoop and score for a touchdown. And they returned Bailey Despaney, a safety who had 53 total tackles, 41 solos, and 2 pass breakups. Now, they lost Darian Mincer, like I said, the quarterback, 189 to 287, 65.9% completion percentage, 2,723 yards, 22 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He went to Duke. Mekhi Hughes, a running back who went to Oregon, who had 265 carries, 1,401 yards, 5.3 carry, and 15 touchdowns. They lost Mario Williams, a receiver who had 60 catches, 1,031 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Dante Fleming, a receiver who had 31 catches, 598 yards, and a touchdown, currently trying to make the Vikings. Yokeith Brown, a receiver who had 35 catches, 470 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And they lost Alex Bowman, a tight end who's currently on Miami, who had 20 catches, 212 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Lost Tyler Grubbs, a linebacker who had 67 total tackles, 40 solos, 3 sacks, pass breakup, 2 interceptions, a touchdown, and a forced fumble. Rayshawn Pleasant, cornerback who currently transferred to Auburn, who had 35 total tackles, 27 solos, 3 pass breakups, interception, a pick 6, and a fumble recovery. They lost Patrick Jenkins, a defensive lineman trying to make the Cardinals, 33 total tackles, 15 solos, 4.5 sacks, and 2 pass breakups. And Michael Robinson, a defensive back who had 33 total tackles, 23 solos, 6 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, a pick 6, and a forced fumble, currently trying to make the Packers. They were 70th in overall recruiting classes, 76 in transfers, bringing in guys like Trey Shackelford, the receiver from Washington State, but 10 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown. Maurice Turner, who lost his job at Louisville, running back who had 27 total carries, 136 yards, 5 carry, and a touchdown. Santana Hopper, a transfer D lineman who had 36 total tackles, 18 solos, 5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles from App State. Omari Hayes, a receiver from FAU, had 39 catches, 590 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Jake Retzlaff, the walk-on quarterback, who went 213 to 368, 57.9% completion percentage, 2,947 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions from BYU, who they had a great season, having 10 wins at BYU. They were 52nd in total offense, 24th in total defense, 89th in passing, 25th in rushing, 16th in scoring offense, 15th in passing defense, 60th in rushing defense, and 24th in scoring defense. Now let's get into the schedule. Where the first game of the season, I have them beating Northwestern at home. I have them beating South Alabama on the road. I have them losing to Duke at home, losing to Ole Miss on the road, beating Tulsa at home, beating ECU at home. Tulsa's on the road, beating ECU at home, beating Army at home, revenge game. Kind of, but not really. I always say they're not really revenge games because they're not in that circumstance. But teams do look at it like that, I guess. So I have them beating UTSA on the road, beating Memphis on the road, which Memphis Tulane is funny because I think Memphis lost to Tulane. I want to say they lost to them at home 2 years ago, and then they beat Tulane in their house last year. I want to say that's how that went. I know Memphis won last year, Tulane won 2 years ago. I want to say they were in each other's cribs when they did that. FAU at home is a win. Temple on the road is a win, and Charlotte at home is a win. Having Tulane going 10-2, 8-0, where I do believe they play UTSA in the championship game, and they win again in the championship game, winning the American Athletic Conference championship game, and possibly earning a college football playoff berth because one Group of 5 school gets the 12th seed. So possibly getting that. That's a at play. Next, we go from the American Athletic Conference Championship to a conference I have yet to talk about. Conference USA Championship. And my winner for that is Western Kentucky. By the way, Tulane over 8.5. Now, Tyson Helton. Coach Helton is a model example of consistency in Western Kentucky. But they have yet to win the Conference USA title since Jeff Brom has left Western Kentucky, which just shows how great of a head coach Jeff Brom is. Me and Ace rave about Jeff Brom all the time. But Jeff Brom and Western Kentucky won the title in 2016, and Helton has been there. He made it in 2021 when they lost to UTSA, and he made it last year when they lost to Jack State in dominating fashion. He is yet to win it, but I think this is the year where he isn't the bridesmaid and we'll say he isn't the groomsman, and he becomes the groom. I think this is the year he gets it done. Especially it's because to me, there's not one team in Conference USA that is like head and shoulders above the rest. Excuse me. To me personally, everybody in Conference USA lost a ton, including Western Kentucky. But like Sam Houston, they lost Casey Keeler, the head coach. He's now gone. Jack State, they lost Tyler Huff, Trey Stewart, and Rich Rod, now gone to West Virginia. Liberty, they lose Quentin Cooley, Caden Salter. So that's big pieces of the offense there. FIU, they lose Eric Rivers and Dean Patterson. I know Keon Jenkins still there. I'm not so at the quarterback position of FIU. The Kennesaw State, they lose Coach Bohannon, have a new head coach. Didn't have a great season at all. Won a couple games. They did upset Liberty, but they were at the bottom of the Conference USA, and I don't know if they got that much better. Then you have Middle Tennessee State, who has been kind of like they name, the middle of Conference USA. Louisiana Tech, just to me, had a solid team last year. Couldn't establish a quarterback, couldn't establish whether they wanted Evan Bullock or I can't even remember the other quarterback name right now. I think it's Jack Turner. But they couldn't establish their quarterback situation. And then last but not least, New Mexico State, again, a solid team, but it's not the same since they lost Diego Pavia and played in that Conference USA title game 2 years ago. So I think Western Kentucky has a real strong chance to finally, since Jeff Brom, win the Conference USA title. Now they're coming off an 8-6, 6-2 season where again they lost the Conference USA title game to Jack State, 52-12. They lose the Boca Raton Bowl 27-17 to James Madison. They did get a new offensive coordinator, Rick Bowie from Abilene Christian, and he brought over his guy Maverick McAvoy, from Abilene Christian at quarterback. They did lose Caden Veldkamp. He did go to FAU, so that's a huge blow. They returned 4 starters, 1 on offense, 3 on defense. The starter on defense, they returned Anthony Brackenridge, linebacker, 24 total tackles, 15 solos, 4 fumble and a fumble recovery. Kent Robinson, a defensive back, 33 total tackles, 28 solos, 2 sacks, 4 pass breakups, interception, and a forced fumble. And DeMarco Williams, a safety, 37 total tackles, 20 solos, pass breakup, 2 interceptions. Again, they lost Caden Veldkamp. Quarterback went to FAU. He went 258 at 389, 66.3% completion percentage, 3,108 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Elijah Young, a running back who's currently trying to make the Buffalo Bills, 201 carries, 883 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It's like 4.4 carry. Keyshawn Johnson, a receiver currently trying to make the Browns, 75 catches, 925 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Easton Messer trying to transfer with this guy to FAU. Receiver who had 55 catches, 793 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, he wasn't technically a starter, but Katie Hutchinson does return for Western Kentucky. So that's huge, a speedster that can stretch the field. They did lose Dalvin Smith, a receiver who had 31 catches, 406 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Devontae Matthews, defensive back, who had 99 total tackles, 55 solos, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and 4 fumble recoveries. Hosey Wheeler, defensive lineman, 65 total tackles, 27 solos, 2 sacks, forced fumble, fumble recovery, and he transferred to Indiana. Upton Stout, a cornerback trying to make the 49ers, who had 53 total tackles, 30 solos, a sack, pass breakup, and interception. Keyshawn Swanson, a defensive back, 63 total tackles, 39 solos, and 2 pass breakups. Darius Thomas, a linebacker, 54 total tackles, 30 solos, 4 sacks, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble, transferred to Oklahoma State. And Deontay McCray, a D lineman who transferred to Florida State, who had 56 total tackles, 23 solos, and 2.5 sacks. They had the 82nd overall recruiting class, 75th in transfers. Again, I've already told you about Maverick McAvoy, who we went 312, 499, 62.5 completion percentage, 3,847 yards, 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Variant Cole, transfer safety from App State, 28 total tackles, 11 solos, and a pass breakup. And Isaiah Myers, transfer receiver from Charlotte, who had 13 catches for 237 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, they were 82nd in total offense, 97th in total defense, 25th in passing, 117th in rushing, 92nd in scoring offense, 9th in passing defense, 130th in rushing defense, and 64th in scoring defense. Their issue to me, beyond just throwing just screen passes, I know Caden Veldkamp and Katie Hutchinson could stretch the field. Easton Messer was big on third down, but Western Kentucky in the past couple of years were really like screen made, receiver screen made, and yards after the catch made. But beyond all that, they never established the starter to me at running back. They liked Elijah Young. They liked I can't think of his name right now. My God. Not because I think I'm thinking back too far with the running back I'm about to say. So I think he was gone last year. But it was like 2 to 3 guys last year that kept rotating, and they never really found a guy at running back. And I think that's the issue. I think if they could find a guy, they can be okay running the football. I can't think of Brad name. And like I said, the running back I'm thinking about, I think is too far behind. But anyway, I get the point. They just didn't find a guy. But we're gonna move on to the schedule where they play tomorrow. I will be previewing that game at 6 a.m. So tune in. Probably at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning, but it will be previewed in the morning. Sam Houston, I have as a win. North Alabama at home, I have as a win. At home on the road against Toledo, I have as a win, but that game can go either way. Nevada, I have as a win. Missouri State, I have as a win. Delaware, I have as a win. Both on the road. FIU, I have as a win. On the road against Louisiana Tech, I have as a win. New Mexico State, I have as a win. Mid-Tennessee State, I have as a win. On the road against LSU, I have as a loss. You thought I was about to say win, huh? No, I have as a loss. And on the road against Jack State, I have as a win. I have them going 11-1, 8-0 in conference play, making the Conference USA Championship game, and ultimately winning. I do have them blitzing through, but they don't play Liberty, which is big. And, yeah, that's really the game that they don't play for us, Liberty. But they could be seeing Liberty in the Conference USA Championship. They could. Nah, I don't know, but I do have them winning the Conference USA, taking the over 7.5 win total for Western Kentucky. Now, hopefully I'm right, but I feel like they might drop a game or two. But next, it's the MAC Championship. Last year, I predicted my MAC champion, and they made the MAC Championship game and just didn't show up for whatever reason. This year was tough. The previous MAC champion, they returned their quarterback, but the head coach is now gone to the American Conference. Miami of Ohio, who is who I predicted, Brett Gabbert, is gone. The receiver core, a lot of that is gone. The defense, will it be the same? So I went the University of Toledo. I went University of Toledo to win the MAC champion. Shout out my cousin. She is going to University of Toledo, but that's not why I picked them. But Junior Vanderross and Tucker Gleason comes back. Chip Trainium in the transfer portal. I already like how that sounds already. So I went the University of Toledo, who was coming off an 8-5, 4-4 season last year. They did win the game above Sports Bowl against Pitt in 6 overtimes where I felt like Pitt threw that game, but I'm not getting into it again. 48-46. They returned 10 starters, 5 on offense, 5 on defense. Again, namely Tucker Gleason and Junior Vanderross. Tucker Gleason, a quarterback who went 233 at 385, 60.5% completion percentage, 2,793 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Junior Vanderross, a receiver at 85 catches, 957 yards, and 5 touchdowns. They did lose a lot on defense. I'm not going to lie. We'll get there in a second. They returned Anthony Dunn, a defensive end, 25 total tackles, 12 solos, 4 sacks, and 4 fumbles. Avery Smith, a cornerback, 58 total tackles, 40 solos, 14 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. Brandon Alls, a safety, had 70 total tackles, 42 solos, half a sack, 6 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, touchdown, and fumble recovery. Nazir Bowers, a cornerback who had 43 total tackles, 37 solos, 5 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, touchdown, and 4 fumble. And Emmanuel McNeil Warren, a safety, who had 61 total tackles, 35 solos, half a sack, 4 pass breakups, an interception, and a 4th fumble. They lost a running back, Jaquiz Stewart, who had 68 carries, 269 yards, 4 carries, and 2 touchdowns. Jerwan Newton is a huge loss. Huge loss. Him and Junior Vanderross was huge together, but Newton is now gone. He had 72 catches for 1,033 yards and 11 touchdowns, currently trying to make the Broncos. Anthony Torres, the tight end, who had 31 catches, 404 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Maxon Hook was my guy at safety, trying to make the Eagles 108 total tackles, 62 solos, 4 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 4 fumble, and a fumble recovery. Well, he was like a safety linebacker. Mixed for real. He could play in a box. Daniel Bowden, a linebacker, had 96 total tackles, 49 solos, 2.5 sacks, Jackson Burrow, a linebacker, had 71 total tackles, 33 solos, 2 sacks, 2 pass breakups, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. My guy in the middle, Darius Alexander, defensive tackle, had 40 total tackles, 17 solos, 3.5 sacks, 4 pass breakups, a pick six, trying to make the Giants. And Kavon Butler, defensive tackle, had 48 total tackles, 16 solos, 3.5 sacks, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. They had the 81st overall recruiting class, 101st in transfers. They bring in guys like Trayvon Rudolph from MAC conference opponent Northern Illinois, a receiver who had 37 catches for 392 yards and a touchdown. Chip Trainium, like I said, running back from Kentucky. We had 19 carries, 101 yards, and 5.3 a carry. And Hudson Miller, transfer linebacker from Purdue, who had 42 total tackles, 28 solos, half a sack, and 2 pass breakups. So some power forward in there. 2 power 4 schools. They were 86 in total offense, 54th in total defense, 40th in passing, 108th in rushing, tied 64th in scoring offense, 47th in passing defense, 70th in rushing defense, and 48th in scoring defense. We can get into the schedule where the game 1, I have them taking an L to Kentucky, just SC football versus MAC football. Sorry. An L against Western Kentucky. They do beat Morgan State. They do beat Western Kentucky on the road. They beat Akron. They lose to Bowling Green, a rivalry game on the road. They beat Kent State. They lose to Washington State on the road. They beat Northern Illinois. They lose to, in my opinion, against Miami of Ohio because it's on the road. But this is an interesting game to me because Daquan Finn is now at Miami of Ohio. Longtime Toledo quarterback. I think he won the MAC with Toledo. So that's going to be fun to watch. They beat Ball State at home. They beat Central Michigan on the road to go 7-5, 6-2. I do have the under 8.5 win total, but I do have them winning the MAC. I think they just narrowly get in the MAC and they get their revenge against possibly Miami of Ohio or whoever they play against. So I do have them making the MAC championship and winning. Next, we got the Mountain West Conference Championship. Now, it's not Boise State. It's not Utah State. You might be thinking, who else is left? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We going UNLV as our Mountain West Conference champ, namely because Dan Mullen is now the head coach at UNLV. And I think Dan Mullen is going to do a great job offensively with UNLV. They have played Boise State in the past 2 Mountain West Conference Championship games. Last year, only scoring 7 points. I think that changes this year with whoever he puts at quarterback, whether it's either Anthony Calandria, Alex Orji, whoever he puts at quarterback. I personally want to see Calandria at quarterback, but hey, it's not my decision. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do. They're coming off an 11-3, 7-1 season where they lost the Mountain West Conference Championship game to Boise State 21-7, but they won the LA Bowl against Cal 24-13. They returned 4 starters, 2 on offense, 2 on defense. Big starter in Jaden Thomas, the running back who had 104 carries, 918 yards, 7 touchdowns, 5.6 a carry. Marcel McDuffie, a linebacker who had 46 total tackles, 23 solos, 2 sacks, and 4 pass breakups. And they returned Cody DeCambra, defensive back, who has 10 total tackles, 4 solos. They lost Haj Malik Williams, who was a dynamic quarterback, speedy runner. He's now gone. He went 150 at 252, 59.5% completion percentage, 1,941 yards, 19 total touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 851 yards on the ground, and 9 total touchdowns on the ground. Ricky White, my guy, former Spartan, currently trying to make the Seahawks. Receiver who had 79 catches, 1,041 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Jacob DeJesus transferred to Cal, receiver who had 36 catches for 512 yards and 3 touchdowns. But let's not forget he's an explosive returner as well. Just get the ball in his hand in open space. He'll make plays. Jackson Woodard, one of my favorite linebackers last year, trying to make the Texans. He had 135 total tackles, 69 solos, 3.5 sacks, 12 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries, and a scoop and score touchdown. Jalen Catalon transferred to Missouri, where he has 92 total tackles, 61 solos, 2 sacks, 4 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, a pick 6, and a forced fumble. He played safety. Jet Eli had a defensive back, 84 total tackles, 54 solos, 6 pass breakups, an interception, and a fumble recovery. Transferred to Rutgers. Jonathan Baldwin, a defensive back, 68 total tackles, 40 solos, 3.5 sacks, 10 pass breakups, 3 interceptions, trying to make the Packers. Fisher Calmack, defensive end, transferred to UVA, 46 total tackles, 21 solos, 7.5 sacks, 5 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Antonio Doe Jr., defensive end, 56 total tackles, 26 solos, 6.5 sacks, 3 pass breakups, and a fumble recovery. And Cameron Oliver, defensive back, 33 total tackles, 21 solos, a sack, 10 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. They had the 77th overall recruiting class, 72nd in transfers. They bring in guys like Justin Flo, who in Arizona in 2023 had 45 total tackles, 14 solos, a sack, and a fumble recovery. He plays linebacker. Denver Harris, a cornerback from UTSA, but 16 total tackles, 14 solos, and 3 pass breakups. Anthony Calandria, a quarterback from UVA, 198 to 320, 61.9% completion percentage, 2,125 yards, 13 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. It's got to cut down on the turnovers, Calandria, please. DeJuan Reynolds, a transfer receiver, 15 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown from Pitt. And Jaheim Joseph, a safety from West Virginia, 41 total tackles, 26 solos, 2 pass breakups, and interception. Without further ado, I don't have no numbers because new head coach, Dan Mullen, will get into the schedule where I have them beating Idaho State at home, beating Sam Houston on the road, beating UCLA at home in an upset to some, beating Miami of Ohio at home, beating Wyoming Miami of Ohio's on the road, beating Wyoming on the road, beating Air Force at home, losing to Boise State on the road, beating New Mexico at home, beating Colorado State on the road, beating Utah State at home, beating Hawaii on the road, at home, and beating Nevada on the road, going 11-1, 7-1, taking the over 8.5, where they beat Boise State in the trilogy of the Mountain West Conference Championship game to finally get over the Boise State Conference Championship hump and hold the Mountain West Conference Championship title. So I do have Dan Mullen and the boys finally beating Boise State and finally hoisting the trophy. And last but not least, we have the Sun Belt. I have not. I lied. I did. I had one team. I talked about them on the Sun Belt. They are on one side of the Sun Belt. This team is on the other side of the Sun Belt. I have James Madison, the Dukes, hoisting the Sun Belt Conference championship this year. They are now eligible for it. They could have won it 2 years ago with Signetti, but they were not eligible for it, so they could not play for it. But this year, they're finally eligible. So I'm excited to see how that looks. They were coming off a 9-4, 4-4 season where they won the Boca Raton Bowl 27-17 versus Western Kentucky, as I talked about in the Western Kentucky segment. They returned 9 starters, 4 on offense, 5 on defense. They returned Alonzo Barnett, quarterback, who went 213 to 355, 60% completion percentage, 2,598 yards, 26 total touchdowns to 4 interceptions, 442 yards on the ground, and 7 touchdowns as well on the ground. George Pettaway, running back, 162 carries, 980 yards, 6 a carry, and 5 touchdowns. Jacob Thomas, safety, 73 total tackles, 35 solos, half a sack, 3 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions. DJ Barksdale, defensive back, 42 total tackles, 27 solos, a sack, 2 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, a touchdown, and a forced fumble. Trent Hendrick, a linebacker, 54 total tackles, 25 solos, 3 sacks, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble. Emmanuel Bush, a defensive lineman, 34 total tackles, 6 solos, a sack and a half, pass breakup, interception, and a fumble recovery. They lost Omarion Dollison, a receiver, 37 catches, 633 yards, and 6 touchdowns. They lose Yamir Knight, a receiver, 53 catches, 605 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He transferred to SMU. Taylor Thompson, a tight end, 33 catches, 448 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Jacob Dobson, a linebacker, 70 total tackles, 30 solos, 3 sacks, 3 fumble recoveries. Kari Mans, defensive lineman, 68 total tackles, 28 solos, 9 sacks, 2 pass breakups, 4 fumble, 3 fumble recoveries. Chris Sharon, safety, 59 total tackles, 31 solos, 4 pass breakups, interception, 4 fumble, 2 fumble recoveries. Eric O'Neal, D lineman, 52 total tackles, 23 solos, 3 sacks, 3 pass breakups, interception, and touchdown transfer to Rutgers. Terrence Spence, cornerback, 38 total tackles, 28 solos, 7 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, a touchdown, and a forced fumble. And Jordan Taylor, cornerback, 24 total tackles, 17 solos, 5 pass breakups. And Chauncey Logan Jr., defensive back, 23 total tackles, 13 solos, 3 pass breakups, and an interception, transferred to Memphis. They were 89th in overall recruiting class, 70th in total transfers. They bring in guys like Jalen Sanchez, a receiver from Villanova, 39 catches, 537 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Shantae Harley, cornerback from Maryland, 16 total tackles, 12 solos, and a pass breakup. And Jordan Fuller, a running back from Holy Cross, who had 62 carries, 253 yards, 4.1 a carry, and 4 touchdowns. They were 47th for total offense, 23rd in total defense, 81st in passing, 28th in rushing, 26th in scoring offense, 45th in passing defense, 26th in rushing defense, and tied 21st scoring defense. So a pretty well-balanced team. They were a pretty good team last year. They were. It's just Marshall got hot. They really did. And yeah, so that was it there. I think they're on the same side as Marshall. The schedule. I have them beating Weber State. I have them losing on the road against Louisville. I have them beating Liberty on the road. I have them beating Georgia Southern at home, beating Georgia State on the road, beating Louisiana at home, beating Old Dominion at home, beating Texas State on the road, beating Marshall on the road, losing to Appalachian State at home, beating Washington State at home, and then beating Coastal Carolina on the road to end 10-2, 7-1, making the Sun Belt Championship game, where they could be possibly playing Southern Mississippi, and I think they beat Southern Miss to win the Sun Belt. Now, that is all 10 teams that I think that y'all should look out for in the Group of 5 conference. If you have a team you want to mention, you can mention that in the comments. I would like to thank y'all for whoever stayed to watch the entire episode with me. I do have one more episode coming tonight. It'll be coming in like 10-15 minutes. I got to change some banners. It is my playoffs, so I'm picking my teams to make the playoff. Then I go through the bracket. I have 1 through 12 is already written up. I'm going to go game by game until I get to the championship game where I pick my champion. And then I got my awards. Who I think wins the Davey O'Brien. Who I think wins the Doak Walker, the Bolitnikov, the Mackey, the Hendricks, the Chuck Bednarik, the Heisman, the Maxwell, Coach of the Year. All that will be in my next episode. So stay tuned. In about 10-15 minutes after I change my banners and stuff, I should be ready for that episode. So again, appreciate y'all for watching this episode. College football starts in about 12 hours. Unfortunately for me, I'll be at work, but nonetheless, we still have college football in about 12 hours. So I'll be back shortly. Y'all enjoy the time I'm gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.